Hello guys and welcome back. I'm finally back after 3 weeks without videos. I recovered myself from the surgery. I'm good now. Today we have the tier list video because we have the upcoming meta with EB02 and with the new deck Luffy Green Purple, the scariest deck. A lot of people ask if the deck is good or not, or is a tier 0 or is just a bait. So today we will discover this. I am here with Gianluca, as always.
Hello guys, hello guys.
We have our tier list. We already put some deck in tier sheet and tier montre. This is just a joke for our friend.
Inside joke.
Inside joke, but
Okay.
these decks are not really good, are at max tier 2, so we put tier sheet. For us are just decks where you can bring at local if you want to play it, but it's not obviously a pick for a big event, so we don't recommend it. We have potential. The tier we used the previous tier list where all the deck we put inside for us have a potential to be a tier 1.5, a tier 1, or just a tier 2. Okay, let's start with Teach. I think Teach is a really strong deck, but the problem is Luffy Green Purple is a really strong deck and have a really good matchup into Teach. So the deck from a tier 1, like in OP10, can be now a tier 1.5. In my opinion.
Yeah. Honestly, even if Luchi is a little bit more popular, since Luchi is pretty good versus Green Purple, I still feel like the Green Purple matchup is a little bit too hard, and so I think as a meta call, as a deck you wanna bring, it's not really super strong, and also you may lose to some other decks like some aggro decks used to counter either GP or Luchi. So I think it's still tier 1.5 because the deck is still very good, but I wouldn't put it any higher than tier 1.5.
Now we have Luffy Purple. This deck for me is always strange because it's a really strong deck if you see your curve. And now it's pretty consistent, so you have a high chance to see this curve. But you have to win the dice roll. And I don't like decks like that. But not enough for me for be a tier 1. Not obviously a tier 2, but probably a tier 1.5.
Yeah, it's hovers above the tier 2. It's between tier 1.5 and almost tier 1, but it's difficult to trying to understand how Purple Luffy fits in the meta, because if you always go first and if you always see your perfect curve, the deck is or broken. It's you almost can never lose, but you are not you don't have 100% chance to do this every single game. So I mean, tier 1.5, I think it's fair for this deck. I think it's pretty fair. I wouldn't put it higher because it has some flaws, consistency and being able to go first are its most important flaws.
Oden, I think this deck takes some cards from EB02 like the new Yamato, and Yamato is really strong, but I don't know where to put, because for me honestly it's a tier 2, but a lot of people say this deck have some potential, so why don't put this deck in potential? For me it's the right tier in this moment for this. If someone finds something, some build can be good, can be higher than tier 2.
Yeah, he has some great tools. I mean, the Yamato is a good addition to the deck, so maybe it has some potential to do some good stuff. Honestly, I don't know much about the matchup versus Green Purple as a Green Purple player, so maybe even the surprise factor of the deck could be something good going for it. So I think potential is a fair assessment of the deck, honestly.
Yamato for me, it's not a good deck, but it's not obviously a tier sheet deck, but for me at max is a tier 2.
Yeah, it's decent versus Green Purple. You can maybe steal some games with the OD versus Green Purple, and going aggro with the Onami in the first turns, because sometimes Luffy Green Purple can brick. He plays a lot of bricks, so maybe you can punish him, but other than that it loses to almost everything else. I mean, you have to get really lucky to win versus some matchups. So I wouldn't put it like above tier 2. It's I think it's a good spot. Maybe with the starter deck it can be a little bit better, but at the moment like it's above average.
Boa, same argument as Yamato. I don't think it's the right meta in this moment for Boa Hancock. So I think this deck is just a tier 2. Luffy ST21, I don't think we can talk a lot about this deck. For me, in the past tier list, probably was a potential deck or a tier 2. I don't remind in this moment, but I think in this moment don't have any potential anymore, but it's just a tier 2.
I think tier 2 is fair. I mean, it's like it's an aggro deck.
So yeah, just that. This is low green yellow, a deck who have a really good potential. In OP11 have some good cards. Probably this deck will be better than this version in EB02, but I think it have some chance to be higher than tier 2. I don't know the right spot, at max tier 1.5 probably, but I wanna see the potential of this deck, so we will put it in potential, yes, because people can cook with that, and probably I will do another video about this deck because I had a lot of fun, so I think I will try it again in EB02. Now let's talk about Smoker. In the previous tier list for OP10 we put it in tier 1. The deck won one regional here, but after that deck don't get a lot of top cut, just one standalone result. So I think at this moment this deck just can be a tier 1.5. It's not on tier 2 level because the leader ability is too strong and the cards this deck can play are really good. So I think he's on tier 1.5 in this moment.
Yeah, cheating dons is like the name of the game right now. He cheats almost the same dons as like Luffy green purple. The deck is decent. It has like some answers to the meta, but the thing is it's a little bit too inconsistent. It was played in like Asia to counter GP. It made the finals at the first like big event, the first nationals. I don't remember, but it made the first nationals versus green purple and it won.
Yes.
So I think the deck is like good, but I feel like tier 1.5 is fair for its flows and its like good points. So 1.5 is a good placement for the deck.
Let's talk about Robin. I don't think we have to spend a lot of words about that. It's at max tier 2 for me.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Bonnie. I don't like the gameplay of this deck because it's always put one character on board, pass. I don't like what this deck do, but I think it's a tier 1.5 deck. Is always strong. Not the best because if we see the result, don't get a lot of good placement. But I think against green purple, it's not really bad, so can do something.
It's probably like the selling point of the deck. Maybe like you wanna play something that you think it's good versus green purple. You feel like you wanna like play control, more like of a control based type of play, and you like Bonnie as a character. Maybe like I think Bonnie is decent. I always have this deck in my heart because I love Bonnie as a character. I love playing Bonnie. I think the problem now is that like Shanks is a little bit hard. Control Shanks is super bad for the deck, but maybe with 9 cost Shanks you can like turn the matchup around. Tier 1.5 is a good placement.
I like a lot this deck, honestly. And in EB02 gets a lot of value, and I think this deck now is higher than tier 2 and is a tier 1.5 because it's a really meta contender. Now with the new Vegapunk you got a good boost. Now Shanks, the problem of Shanks is always the inconsistency.
Yeah, the issue was always like hitting the curve perfectly with Shanks, but since the control version was like always like stronger than the aggro one, but it was gate kept by Teach, so you had to play a little bit more like aggro.
Aggro, yeah.
Now with the control version having a little bit more of a chance thanks to like the good matchup versus green purple, it probably deserves a spot in tier 1 because you have a lot of answers to green purple, and since that's the primary like benchmark and gatekeeper of the meta. If you have a good matchup versus the deck, I feel like you deserve at least a tier 1.5. But since Shanks is like a good matchup versus majority of the format, I think tier 1 is fair. I think it's a good like pick for a big event. Even if you have like to see curve every game, I feel like the deck has the ability to like try to go into the late game, and in the late game you have like 10 cost Shanks, and that's like a super good card. So I think the deck deserves a spot in tier 1.
Oh, Kid Yellow, I don't know, tier 2.
It's probably on the lower end of tier 2. It's not that like good. You lose versus Luchi, you lose versus Green Purple, you lose versus majority of the meta, so I don't think the deck like is that good in the format right now.
I think he's on tier 2 level in this moment. Probably the best of tier 2 or
maybe
the worst
like,
of tier 1.5. We can put in the worst of tier 1.5.
Maybe worst of tier 1.5 is a little bit more fair since the deck still has some tools.
Yeah, obviously. But not enough in this moment. Smoker, I played a little bit against this deck. I don't think it's really bad in this moment. Probably it's not tier 2 anymore. And probably in this moment can be a tier 1.5 deck. We will put here.
Yeah, he got the 7 cost Sengoku from EB02.
Yeah.
So he got like a mini Moria, like a small Moria. And that's very good for the deck because like a 7 cost 7k blogger plus a Kuzan brought back with the effect is like so good. Like you wanna set up the board as much as possible with this deck, and that card is a very good setup piece. So I think tier 1.5 is fair. It was played a lot in Asia to like counter GP at first, but then like it was overshadowed a bit by Luchi. But I still feel like tier 1.5 is good for the deck. It's like good placement.
Now Uta, I think we don't have to talk about Uta a lot. It's on tier 2 level.
It loses versus Shanks and versus Luchi, so yeah.
So,
it's still decent, but no more than tier 2.
Yeah. Foxy the same, I think lose his feet, but tier 2, not more. Luffy Black Yellow, we can respect it and put in...
put him in tier 2 out of respect.
Yeah, for respect, but...
no Moria is too bad.
Same as Chopper. This deck don't do too much. I think tier 2 is a spot, do better than tier shit, but that's it.
Got some supports from maybe 02, but that's all like the deck got. In the sense that it didn't gain any good matchups, didn't lose any bad matchups. Like it's decent. Tier 2 is fine.
Yeah. I will put tier 2 Rebecca too. I don't know. Yeah. We put in potential in the previous tier list, but I think now is more difficult, so I don't think this deck can be better than tier 2.
Yeah, I agree.
Katakuri too, I don't think have a really good spot. I don't like this deck, it's yellow. Always yellow, I hate yellow. This moment is just on tier 2 level too.
Yeah.
Same as Perona, don't do too much.
Perona is almost tier Montre, copying tier.
Tier Montre, but yeah, put it tier 2. Pudding 2, put it tier 2. I don't think this deck can win against Green Purple in any way.
I think yeah.
Bello Betty can be better, obviously, in OP11 with
almost one of the best like lower tier decks. It's better in OP11 since the Snakeman Luffy comes out, but at the moment like it's maybe top of tier 2, but since it's not ordered, I mean,
yeah, it's tier 2. I mean, just tier 2.
I mean, it's tier 2, yeah.
Same buggy, we are all waiting for the starter deck, because this deck I think is really funny, but we need a really strong card for bring this deck in a good spot. Moria, we can put it tier 2, but okay, I don't think if you want to play black, you have Smoker and is better. You have probably Luchi and is better. I don't know why you have to play Gecko Moria. Enel, I don't know. The fact is, Teach Yeah.
Even if it got the 10 cost NL, it's bad versus Luchi, bad versus green purple. I'm thinking like it doesn't really have a spot right now, and now versus like even Shanks is not that good since you don't have Raigo anymore. So
Right.
I don't know.
I think Saber and Yellow have some potential.
I mean, it can always be decent. Maybe they will find like a good build. Koala in like OP10 was good. I mean, maybe it can be a little bit better now.
Lim, the new wave. Yeah.
The old new way.
The old new wave.
It's good. It's good. I mean, it has like almost the same problem as Luffy Purple. You wanna go first most of the time. I mean, if I could choose to go first every game, this deck would be like tier 0.
Tier 0.
But since I can't go first every game, almost tier 1.5. Like it's tier 1.5, like middle of tier 1.5.
Doflamingo, I want to put this deck in tier 1, but if we think about the next format, we have green purple where with the stage you cannot remove any Sage Pudding. We have Shanks, Control, I think have a strong matchup into Doffy, and Luchi probably rise up because I have a good matchup into green purple, but it's a bad news for Doflamingo. So I don't think it's tier 1, but tier 1.5.
It lost a good matchup and Luchi is more popular, so 1.5 I think it's good.
The other Doflamingo, green purple, I don't think this deck is better than tier 2 tier. Can put it here. Reiju, one of the most discussed leader in this period. I think the deck is good, and you lose Teach now. Obviously, Teach is it's still in the meta, okay? But it's not really popular like in this moment. So I think for Reiju is a good news. And I guess green purple I think is playable, no? Probably one of the best of tier 1.5.
Yeah, probably like first or second best. Yeah.
I think it's a good pick for regional. You can try it, but you have to put a lot of effort into the deck because you have to adapt all the situation and you have to know how to play when you don't have the stage. Marco have potential. I don't know where to put, and I think this deck can be cooked, have some version. So probably his tier for me is potential.
Someone will cook the control version a little bit more than the animal version, which like topped Rafael Neven topped with the animal version. I think maybe the control version is a little bit better now, since like versus green purple you need to remove all these Sanji and Puddings. It has I think potential is fair for the deck because good control version pops up. I think it can even be like one of the best tier 1.5, but since like we don't know much about the deck and maybe the list that will come up, I think potentially is a fair assessment.
Zoro, I think is a tier 2. Previous meta for me, previous meta for me was a tier 1.5 because I have a good bunch of decks where this deck against is good, but now I don't think so. Probably in tier 2, with Luchi rise up, with green purple.
Luchi and green purple being bad for the deck is bad.
So for me it's a tier 1.5. I think I have 2 really strong leader ability. Dressrosa package is good, but probably depends on the version because Saka Aso have a good matchup, is playable against green purple. But I think the normal Aesop have a really bad matchup into green purple. I guess Shanks is always bad, but depends on the version you are playing. But you win against Luchi, so tier 1.5 for me is the right spot for him. Now Luchi, we discussed about Luchi during this tier list. For me it's totally tier 1, and
I think like most of the decks have to be prepared either at the same time, either versus Luchi and versus
green purple.
So like they are 2 of the benchmarks and like gatekeepers of the meta. So lower than tier 1 would be a crime.
Now low, I think more
low,
than
red, green,
more than tier 2.
Yeah. Luchi is bad, Shanks is bad, green purple is bad.
It's all bad.
It's not shit because it's
low. Only because it's slow.
Cast it on stream, and since there are no more Ice Ages, it has a little bit more of a matchup versus Luchi, and also like it's good versus versus Shanks, because you can like spam a board,
Yeah.
and also versus Green Purple you can be aggressive. You can like punish him for having too many bricks.
Yeah, and a lot of time you cannot use the giant because it's too early.
Also, you got you got like a 2-cost spell from a B, which searches your Noland, your like healing 5-cost character, and the 10-cost Tenel can be decent in the deck. So I think it's a very good contender. I mean, I wouldn't put it more than tier 2 because it has some iffy matchups, but it can do well versus like the tier 1s.
And now we have Luffy ST14, the Italian kitchen, no?
Yeah, the Italian kitchen.
I think this deck can be good. Not a tier 2, not a tier 1.5. I don't know where to put really in this moment. But I think
will shake up some of the lists, the 7-cost Sengoku from EB02.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I think this deck is the deck with the most potential of this format.
I can agree.
Now the king of the format, yes.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit too far from being tier 0. I don't think it's a tier 0.
No, for me it's not tier 0.
Like, we've seen some tier 0s like in every other card
probably
game.
This will be a tier 0.
Yeah, probably, yeah, but it's too early to say.
The Luffy game, Luffy TCG.
the Luffy TCG, yeah. No, I think like it's probably the best deck in the format.
Yes, I agree.
Not by a long shot. I mean, it has some counters, it has some flaws. I think it's a very strong, fair deck in the sense that it has its ups and downs. It's like good points and bad points, but it's still the best deck.
Guys, this is our tier list. We have like tier 1 Luffy, Green Purple, obviously Luchi and Shanks. Let me know in the comments if for you it's the same or we put some leader in the wrong spot. Thank you, Gianluca, for this tier list, as always with me.
Thanks to you.
Thank you guys for watching the video. I'm back, so a lot of content come out. Let me know in the comments your opinion and see you in the next video. Bye bye.